Margaret Trey. I'm a counselor by training, a researcher, a writer, and the author of 2 books on Falun Gong. First of all, I would like to thank Vladimir and Vladimir, Tomorrow People Organization, for this opportunity to present at the 7th Annual Peace and Conflict Resolution Conference. This is my first virtual presentation, and the topic is using Falun Gong for achieving peace and conflict resolution. Let's take a look at the overview. There are 3 parts to the presentation. 1 is the introduction, and 2, we look at what is Falun Gong, the key values and teachings. And 3, we look at the 3 domains: the personal, the public, and the workplace. The need for peace building and conflict resolution has never been so critical as it is today with the global pandemic and lockdown. Our life will never be the same again. And the purpose is to explore another spiritual way, the Falun Gong way, to achieve peace and resolve conflicts. There are 3 domains that we're looking at. The personal, we have people staying at home 24/7, children studying at home, adults working from home. Stress and conflicts can fly abound. For workplace, the workplace is at home too, but what happened to the business? Businesses topple. Schoolwork suffers. Relationships suffer, with many couples settling disputes in divorce and separation. And the society, in a public arena, or the global or the national scenario, we have the current social and political situation. Now let's take a look at the approaches to conflict resolution. There are 3 major and different approaches that conceptualize and practice conflict resolution differently: structural, social, psychological, and the spiritual approach. The first one is a top-down model used by social and political elites. The second focuses on transforming the cognitive and emotional impact of the conflict. The third, the spiritual, applies spiritual values of healing, forgiveness, reconciliation. Gardner calls this approach is to aim to achieve long-term positive structural, conceptual, behavioral, and cognitive changes. And what is Falun Gong? It is an ancient Chinese mind-body spiritual discipline. You can say that it is a self-cultivation way. It is a self-cultivation way rooted in Buddhist and Taoist philosophies. And Falun Gong consists of moral teachings and 5 exercises. Now, between the cultivation and the exercise, the cultivation aspect is the more important aspect, and this is obtained from constantly reading the teachings. So the core of the practice is the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. In Chinese, it is Zhen Shan Ren, truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, or tolerance. It has a very inclusive policy. It's free of charge, it's free for all ages, it's free of dietary restrictions, and it doesn't have constraint on time, frequency, or place of practice. You can practice at home by yourself, or you can practice with your friends and fellow practitioners. It's free of rituals. There are no buildings or churches of Falun Gong. And you are free to leave at any time. So basically, the next slide you can look at is to show you the global and cultural diversity of Falun Gong. People practicing in the park, Muslim practitioners in Indonesia sitting in meditation, and students in India practicing Falun Gong, in school. And during the lockdown, if you can't go out, then go inside. So what are the benefits of the practice? Let's take a look at the next slide. On the left side is the physical benefits, and on the right you have the psycho-emotional benefits of the practice. It helps to ease anxiety, stress, and it calms the mind. And spiritually, it helps to promote spiritual growth, inner peace. Hence, it can be used for peace building and conflict resolution. The Falun Gong way for peace and conflict resolution evolves around 3 aspects. 1, you follow the 3 universal principles in your daily life, which means doing our best to practice this, to apply these 3 principles: being honest, being true, being good, and doing your best to endure. And next, we look at how you apply heart-mind cultivation of looking within. And the third, you look at considering others first in every situation. Now, achieving peace and resolving conflict in a personal domain, the Falun Gong way is a 2-fold path. You do the meditation exercises and you cultivate. So it is exercise and cultivation practice. By that it means when we meditate, we feel calmer, less stress, and hence less reactive. By practice, by cultivation, we study the teachings and cultivate the heart and mind. Then we are better equipped to achieve peace and overcome difficult scenarios, so we can resolve conflicts or avoid conflicts totally. This is one excerpt that I read a lot, almost daily, which is true cultivation, and these are 2 sentences from there. This is something I read every day. As a matter of fact, when you agonize over infringements upon your reputation, self-interest, and feelings among people, among everyday people, it already indicates that you cannot let go of ordinary human attachments. Whether you can let go of ordinary human attachments is a fatal test on your way to becoming a truly extraordinary being. And it is the aim of every cultivator to become a truly extraordinary being. So the key then lies in looking within ourselves for reasons and finding what we still have not let go of. Whether it's infringements of our reputation, self-interest, feelings of sadness, feelings of anger, feelings of resentment, all these have to go. Because these are the emotions that contribute and worsen the conflict. Let it go. Let go of that. And this is how we practice, we achieve, and this is how we can achieve peace and resolving conflict, the Falun Gong way. Let it go. Next, we just recap what we have gone through. The Falun Gong way entails 1, we meditate. We find inner peace and inner balance from the exercise practice. Next, we study the teachings and we cultivate the heart and mind, learning to be a better person morally. And next, we apply the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance to be true, good, and endure, living our life closer to these 3 universal values. It's not easy, of course, but we can always strive. As the teachings of Falun Gong says, when it is impossible, it is possible. So the Falun Gong way of achieving peace and resolving conflicts involves putting others first, then looking within ourselves. And when we look within, we gain insights. We have the aha insight as to what we have not let go. And we act upon that by letting go of that. And in the event of letting go of those attachments, even the Buddha says attachment is the cause of all sufferings. So if we can let go of these attachments, we suffer less. We achieve peace and we resolve the conflicts. So finding answers for peaceful resolution, there are no set of standard beliefs to adopt. Everyone's thinking is unique, and the way you apply the principles is unique too. So in cultivation practice, the Falun Gong way, as the teacher said, one must truly temper and improve oneself through actual practice. He means actual practice, meaning that you can't just sit on a couch, drinking honey, and then you think that, you can achieve peace and resolve conflict so easily. It's not so easy, but it can be done. Now, in the workplace, we apply the Zhen Shan Ren principles as well. We look at how Falun Gong teaches that a cultivator should not fight back when being punched or insulted, but should hold oneself to a high standard. And here he gave an example in Zhuan Falun how when you go to your workplace and you find that someone, some of your colleagues are kind of bad-mouthing you to your boss, and how do you respond to that? If you can stay calm and not be moved, then there is no conflict. So when a conflict occurs among one another, it is very difficult to control one's mind. I say that it would be easy if everything can be resolved through sitting in meditation, but it will not always be this way. From Zhuan Falun, page 175. I'd like to share with you a poem from Master Li Hongzhi that relates to conflicts directly. Who is right? Who is wrong? As a cultivator, one always looks for one's own faults. 'Tis the way to get rid of attachments most effectively. There is no way to skip ordeals, big or small. During a conflict, if you can remember, he is right and I am wrong, what's to dispute? Let's take a look at the final scenario, the public domain. Here we have 3 exemplary examples from Falun Gong. 1. The Falun Gong parades. They are known for their grandeur, splendor, and peaceful nature. There are no riots, protests, fighting, violence, like some parades or some activities are. Thousands of Falun Gong practitioners, for instance, every year before the lockdown would travel to New York City for the annual conference, and usually it's about 8,000 to 10,000 people turn up for the conference, and the majority of them would attend the New York City parade. The second refers to the vigils outside Chinese consulate. Again, this is another good example of a peaceful protest that goes on for more than 2 decades. In Canberra, Australia, London, UK, especially in London Chinese Embassy, the UK practitioners keep a 24/7 presence for almost 2 decades. Now the next one, we look at the 425 demonstration. Before we get to that, I want to talk about how on July 20th, 1999, the then president of the Chinese Communist Party, Jiang Zemin, unlawfully banned Falun Gong. And since then, tens of thousands of Falun Gong practitioners in China were incarcerated, put in forced labor camps. And thousands of them have died from the brutal persecution, as well as from the alleged forced organ harvesting. Let's talk about the 425 demonstration. 10 to 15,000 Falun Gong practitioners on this day showed up at Zhongnanhai for a silent and peaceful demonstration. The reason or the purpose is to seek redress and recognition of their rights to practice their beliefs. After Tianjin police arrested 45 Falun Gong practitioners, the practitioners were very well behaved. At the demonstration, they came quietly and they left quietly, leaving no trash behind. This is incredible. With 15,000, almost 15,000 people, the streets are clean after they left. The practitioners were thoughtful and they lived up to Zhen Shanren values. Now, this mass event is Falun Gong's constructive response to CCP's unfair treatment. And we must know now that 5 months later, on July 20th, Jiang Zemin, the then president of the Chinese Communist Party, unlawfully banned Falun Gong in mainland China. And since then, tens of thousands of practitioners have been incarcerated, brutally tortured, and many died from the severe persecution. Tens of thousands probably killed for their organs for alleged forced organ harvesting. Now, finally, I would like to put 3 recommendations here as a Falun Gong way for achieving peace and resolving conflict. You could start to practice. You could read a book, especially Zhuan Falun. You can try to apply the Zhen Shanren principles in all settings. It is not easy, but it can be done. 10 times, you might fall 2-3 times, but the teacher always says, just get up and do it again. This is cultivation. It is honing and practicing your ability to become a better person. And last of all, with the exercise and the practice, it is self-care for self-regulation. Thank you.